Hi everybody, I'm Heidi from Let's Make Art, filling in for Jessie, our mixed media artist. And this is our Letters and Post Let's Make Art Matter tutorial. So first I want to tell you this is not a normal step-by-step tutorial. We're going to play with some of the materials that we have displayed here. We'll go through those in a second, but this is a really fun opportunity to just take what you've learned, play with some new materials, and we'll see what's going to happen together. So those of you who've been with us for a long time may know that I am not Jessie, and that's okay. But I am taking over her Let's Make Art Matter because this month's theme is Letters and Post, all about pen pals and thinking of people we love and sending them a little bit of happy snail mail. So I have stolen some postcards off of Jessie's desk that she was planning to do for this video, and we're gonna make a postcard for her instead. So I'm taking over, she'll be back next time, I promise. But we're gonna have some fun and think about what we wanna do for our friends with pen pals. So, and I have Keenan here, our camera guy.
Hello, how are you?
So if somebody starts talking, that's who.
It's just a random guy in the background named Keenan.
Just a random guy named Keenan.
That's all it is.
The truth is that Keenan is actually the secret to all of this. He makes all of us feel okay about talking to all of you and helps move it along. And so I really appreciate you today, Keenan.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to show you some of the postcards that I stole off of Jessie's desk to give you an idea of what we're going to be working on, and then I can go through all the supplies.
Sweet.
Okay, so some really beautiful techniques here, some background washes combined with these really beautiful stamps.
I love the pink wash.
Yeah, isn't that so fun?
Yeah,
and just like all the different ways that she's applying it too, it leaves a lot of room for text or lettering or anything like that. So let's talk about the supplies then. First, you of course need your postcard or some kind of surface. If you're doing this for yourself or in your art journal, you can totally do that too. And then you need a stamp set if you're following along. I'm using this one from Maggie Holmes. It's called Marigold. This is what it looks like in the package, but really fun, beautiful stamp set. Is there a glare on that one? Is that okay?
It's okay, just keep rotating it. You'll get some of it, you won't get some of it.
But I like to store these, even if I've used them a bunch, I like to store them this way in these acrylic sheets that it comes in, because then you always see very clearly what you have to work with, and it keeps them clean from, you don't get any dust or anything like that in there. So
yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, you got to keep your supplies clean and orderly enough. That's not always.
You gotta love on those supplies.
For creatives, that's not always our first inclination to keep things orderly and tidy. So.
Then I'm definitely more creative than I think.
Keenan, you are so creative. Based on your works, but no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we have the stamps, and so if you're working with stamps, you also need some ink stamp pads. This comes in a set, a stackable set, a mini stamp pad. I like to have them all out in my rainbow order so I know what I have to choose from. And like I said, this is not a step-by-step tutorial where you have to follow it exactly. It's really just playing with some of these materials, and I have a fun technique that I'm going to share with you.
Ooh, cool.
So you can pick your colors however you like. If you have other stamps, other materials, this is your time to bring it all in and play and have a little bit of fun. So what am I missing? Let's talk about Let's Make Art Matter.
Oh, okay.
So this is a special kind of tutorial that we do at Let's Make Art. Aside from our regular instructional tutorials, we set aside some time each month for Let's Make Art Matter, which just means that we want to invite you and remind ourselves as well to take the opportunity to look at the things that we've learned, our creative skills, and use them in a way that we can give back or brighten someone's day. So in our regular art boxes, we usually will include a pre-stamped postcard on watercolor paper. And usually there will be a card that has a story about who the recipient is, someone who's been nominated in advance. And so their address is there, it's already stamped for you. So all you have to do is make it beautiful and send it on its way with a little message to the recipient. This month, because the theme for art journaling is pen pals, we're inviting you to pick someone that you know personally and send them a little postcard to brighten their day.
Which is super fun.
Keenan, are you going to do some pen pal postcards?
You're going through a tunnel. Don't put me on the spot, Heidi.
Wow. Okay, well, that's going to be the next project. We might have to do a part 2. Keenan makes postcards for people he loves.
Let's make Keenan make postcards.
So we love Let's Make Art Matter, and that's why this is kind of a bonus tutorial that can be a little bit less structured, and I think they're really fun.
Super fun.
This is my first time teaching one.
Also, the size is so convenient to try different things in a smaller space.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. It's kind of like a bite size.
Yeah.
Not so intimidating.
A little snapshot.
So these are postcards that, like I said, I stole from Jessie, our mixed media artist. I took these from her desk, and she was making these for other members of our team. So
wow.
We got to make one for her.
If you're not stealing, you're not caring. So
they are being borrowed. I will return them.
Okay.
So maybe stealing is not the right words. Okay, so all you really need is everything that came in your box, and you can really play with what you have. But I am also going to show a few optional materials. Like this is an acrylic block that makes it easier to place your stamps. You don't need this, and I can show you why you don't. And then I'm also playing with these blender tools, which are really great for the inks to spread it out evenly. And I'll show you how you can get some of the best success with those as well. I also have some acrylic paints. So if you want to have things handy, then you're ready to go. But all you really need is the inks, the stamps, and a black pen, maybe, if you want to add a little bit of detail. So I also am using a ruler and a pencil with an eraser.
Oh.
So this is the part that I'm really excited about, which is
the ruler and the pencil?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because I'm taking what Jessie has already started, and this one I just absolutely love with the pattern all around that she created by repeating one stamp. And so we have a team member named Katie who showed me this beautiful version that she had done when this was being discussed. So we're going to put this up on the screen so you can look at it. Okay, but this is so beautiful. It uses so many different colors from the ink set that we have here, and just gives you a whole other take on how you can really make the most out of a stamp set. So if you notice, there's some symmetry, and we're going to talk about that. So here we go.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to start by taking my ruler, and I'm just going to do some diagonal lines pretty lightly. They're really just for reference, basically creating a grid that I can go off of. Actually, I'm going to do it. You can do it any which way you want. And while I'm doing this, I want to mention that we found this technique from someone on Instagram. His username is menwhobullet. He's a great bullet journaler, and he has a great video. Let me get this right. April 9th, 2021, if you go to his Instagram and look at his IGTV, we can include the link there as well, but it's his post from April 9th, 2021 that will show another way that you can use the stamps and have a very similar technique like this, where you have the mirrored images.
Sweet.
Yeah, I love it. So I got to give him a little shout out, and that's what inspired Katie's version too. So we're going off of it.
Cool.
We're gonna play. So I am gonna do it this way. I'm just drawing a line through the middle, whatever size your surface is, and then again the same way. Again, the other way, the center. So
I have the hardest time finding the center of anything. Every time, doesn't matter, the shape.
Well, it helps if you start at 0. I was starting at 1, so that's all right. That's all right. Okay, so can you see that pretty well, Keenan?
Yep, that looks great.
If you're doing it at home, you might do it a little bit lighter, just doing a little darker so you can see. But this is going to be our guide. And if you want, you can get really fancy. You could go in and add diagonals, all of that. Mark from Men Who Bullet, what he does is he actually uses a compass and does a circle, and then does his grid from that, so that it's really cool. You got to go check it out.
Way to be, Mark.
We're going to do a kind of a simplified version of that, but I'm so excited to play with these stamps. Okay, should we put something in the middle?
Well, yes.
I really love this wreath stamp here.
Same.
And it's perfect for having like a little sentiment. That's a card making term, but a sentiment, just like a happy phrase, you know, like the you and me that you find in the stamp set, or so sweet, lovely. It could be thinking of you.
Oh.
I has cheeseburgers.
I has cheeseburgers.
Whatever you're inspired to do. But that's perfect for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stamp off of here.
You could make the sentiment be something that your pen pal enjoys to do.
There you go. Yes. Maybe it's like a secret, an inside joke or something.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm doing is, you can do this any way you want. You can also use the lid of your stamp set. This one's a little bit bigger, so you might need a couple, but the main thing is you just want it to have an even surface. So I'm placing it first, and then I'm going to use this acrylic block, which you can get at Let's Make Art. And I'm using the grid on the block. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So then that's going to help me line this up really well. My head's going to get in the way because I have to get really close overhead to make sure that those lines match up with the lines underneath. Can you see that?
Yep, you've got it.
And then
it looks
I'm pressing
amazing,
down
actually.
evenly, kind of rock it back and forth. And now I know that the stamp is fully on that acrylic block with no gaps, no bubbles. And it's perfectly centered with that grid too, so that now I'm going to be able to place it really nicely.
Nice.
On this, in the center. Okay, we got to pick a color. I'm gonna go with, I love black, I love navy blue for like grounding the center. I'm gonna use navy blue instead, but use it as if it's a black, if that makes sense. So it's gonna be our dark color that kind of grounds all the other happy fun colors. I just thought of that.
No,
We're gonna do that.
I like that a lot. Good call.
Okay, I'm taking the stamp pad, and a lot of this, Jessie already, if you wanna go to some of the other letters and post themed videos that Jessie has done, she does teach you how to use these materials in other ways too. And so some of this might be new, some of it may not, depending on if you've been hanging out with us before. So I like to take these mini stamp pads and just go and dab right onto the stamp. You want to do it enough that you can kind of see that it's being completely covered, but you don't want to press so hard that you get any kind of like pooling, because if you press really hard on this, ink's going to just kind of squirt out, and it will mess up the image that you're trying to create. So I'm just dabbing it until I can see that it's fully covered. There's no science, you just look until it's done. And then you want to act fairly quickly because ink does dry. Surprise. And then my head might get in the way again, Keenan, but then I'm going to go back, and I already set up that grid, so I'm going to line it right back up, and I'm going to press it down. And the same thing I did when I first put the stamp on the block was to kind of press down firmly, and then I rocked it back and forth just a tiny bit, and that's just to make sure that it fully covers the surface. Don't press too hard, just enough that it's firm.
Ooh.
That's pretty good.
That looks great.
It's not like perfect, and I kind of like that because then people know that you did it, and it's not just something that was printed already. So I'm using a baby wipe, very fancy, to wipe off my stamp right away.
It's a very scientific tool.
It is. It really is the best way to take care of your acrylic stamps.
Perfect.
Keenan,
it's not too harsh.
Make sure to keep some baby wipes next to your acrylic stamp stash.
Yeah.
So.
And your snacks. Like M&Ms, they melt in your hands. So you just need some way to clean your hands, Heidi.
Baby wipes for everything.
They work for everything.
For your art session, for your art/snack session, you'll be good to go. Okay, I really like how that turned out. Eventually I'm going to erase the lines, but I'm going to wait till everything is completely dry before I do that, because I don't want it to smudge. So, okay, I feel good about that choice. Let's move on. And so now I'm going to pick, I have a little bit more space on this side than I do this side. So I'm going to think about what are the images from my stamp set that I want to use that will kind of ground this motif or this pattern.
Motif.
Motif.
Another name for fountain.
Okay. I'm going to use this loosely illustrated flower. I think it's really pretty.
Oh, I do too.
Katie used that in hers too, and I just loved how it turned out. She used that one, and then she used the bees and a few different ones. But I'm not going to copy you exactly, Katie, but I do love it, so we're going to try it out.
I feel like this flower is an incognito pineapple.
Oh, that totally could be.
Right? It kind of looks like a sneaky pineapple.
Okay, okay. Well, if I wasn't going to do bees, I would try to do it in like pineapple colors.
Oh yeah, that'd be sweet. But you're going to add bees.
I'm going to add bees.
I get it.
With the yellow because I love it. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing that I did with the acrylic block, but because the stamp is smaller, I can use the lid of my little stamp set.
Sweet.
And the advantage of this, you want to use something that's see-through if you can, the clear plastic, because then you can see exactly where you're placing it onto your design. So I'm really excited about the flower. If you notice, there's the flower and then there's also the leaves. You can kind of see it better here. So one of the advantages of using a mini stamp set like this is that you can be strategic about how you place the colors on the stamp. So I'm going to go with, actually, you know what? I don't want pink, I want orange. I'm going with orange.
Okay. Excellent choice.
I decided. So the flower is going to be orange. Here we go. So, oops, okay. The flower is going to be orange. So what you're going to do is the same thing that we did before, where you're taking the ink pad and you're actually pressing it on, but I'm just going to be a little bit careful and only do it on the flower part.
Oh, I like that.
And you can use a little corner if you really want to get in there detailed. I'm going to be a little bit looser than that. I don't care if it gets a tiny bit onto the leaf part. That's all right. But just the same technique, just dab it until it's fully covered. So for this one, you got to act quick because you got two different colors.
Oh, the old two-tone.
Two-tone. So I'm adding this beautiful minty green as the leaves. So fun. Okay, and then I am going to line this up with my line that I've got here. You can choose, if you want to do it straight out like this on the line, you can totally do that, or you could even angle it. Just try to angle it the same way every time you go around. So here we go. Have you ever done stamps before, Keenan?
I feel like I have, but I don't know if I've done them recently enough to really say with confidence that I have.
Okay. So this one, I have like a little spot where it didn't cover completely, and that is because I had a feeling it was going to happen because there was a bubble.
Ah.
So I'm just going to come back and adjust it really quickly, clean it up a little bit so I can kind of start fresh. But you'll be able to see if there's little bubbles between the acrylic and the block or whatever you're putting on there, and that is going to affect how well your stamp turns out. So take a second and adjust that.
Cool.
I'm just going to try again. I'm going to try and go right over it. Since it is on a clear block, I'll be able to see pretty well where I had already done it. And the green looks fine, so I'm just going to redo the orange part. I'm going for a pretty loose style, so that's all right. Here we go. Try again. If I wasn't on an overhead camera, I'd be down really close, getting my face right up to it. Just press it, rock it a little bit. Okay, well.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
That's all right. Okay,
I think it looks really cool.
I'm going to roll with it and move to the next one.
Perfect.
And maybe I'll use the block because that is a little more solid and more predictable.
Ah.
You got to work out those bubbles,
oh man,
though.
you could plan out that block and then stamp all of them at the same time.
You could. You can get bigger blocks that would fit the whole surface of this for sure. You could do like a whole quarter at the same time. So that's a great idea.
Wow.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat this then onto the other sides. You're going to do 4 in total to get the mirror image effect. Let's see how this one goes. Maybe it'll be better. I sing to myself a lot. I'm learning
I can appreciate that.
As I film this tutorial, I'm singing a lot of the words. All right.
Nice.
There's something about that particular stamp that I'm
one
not...
spot, maybe?
Maybe. It's all right.
What's great is it's a good mirror.
It is a good mirror.
That's awesome.
Kind of. It's a rotation, really, but it still gives you that effect.
Yes, a rotation.
Did you say brotation?
I did, yes.
I don't know what bros have anything to do with this, but that makes you feel included, and that's great.
It does, thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to press a little bit more on that spot that I know hasn't been going down very well. That's a little better.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I'm not bothered by it at all.
I actually love that all of them have that same spot.
It looks hand done.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Here we go. You do just want to be careful, make sure you don't get your ink pads dirty, but other than that, this is a fun technique to try and add different colors. You could get really crazy with it and do all kinds of colors or stripes or whatever. Have fun with it. Okay, we'll do the fourth one and then we'll move on to our next motif elements. Kind of rocking it back and forth a little bit. Okay, that one did close it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it, and we're gonna move on. Let me just clean my stamp off. So you have a nice little repeat that kind of grounds it. It's a smaller than what's in the center, which is fun. And then you can decide, do you want to go bigger or even smaller? And part of that can be determined by what you have available. I really love, let's play. I love the butterfly. I love the honeybee.
I love that tiny little flower.
This one? Or this one?
The other one. Yes.
It is really cute. See, and those are ones too where like you get all of your big elements laid down and then you can go back and add little details like that just fill it out and make it look like a full like repeat pattern type of a thing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do the honeybee.
Okay. Because flowers and bees.
Flowers and bees, and it's just such a cute stamp. I love the honeybee. It's just the perfect amount of whimsical and realistic for me. We'll just do it in yellow. Work out those bubbles. Just lift up the side until you...
Bubbles.
That's better. Okay, so I'm gonna do what I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna add, I'm centering around the grid as much as I can rather than like, since this isn't square, you have to kind of imagine where the actual repeat is. So I'll show you what I mean. We're gonna stamp up our
stamp.
Ink up our stamp.
Stamp up our ink.
Yeah, okay. And I got a little messy with that, but just make sure you're pressing evenly as best you can. So I'm gonna try to go, I'm going from this diagonal here, not what I think should be diagonal on the page. And you can decide how you wanna approach that, how you wanna handle it being not perfectly square. And Katie did a great job too, if you wanted to go back and reference hers. Because she kind of extended her design. But I'm just splitting the difference between the two flowers. And, oh, it's so pretty.
Oh, that yellow.
I love that yellow so much. It still shows so much of the detail. It's kind of a deep yellow. So you can do a lot with these colors.
And if you want to get crazy, you could even go in and fill with maybe a black paint.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, no.
We'll see. Maybe. I don't know if that's a good idea. Just kidding. Okay.
I didn't want to spoil it.
Keep going. I'm going to go the opposite side.
I'm excited, though.
Maybe not black. We don't have black paint. But we have black ink. And then we also have a black pen somewhere that I brought over here. Okay, and you could even get creative if you don't want to do the bees on each side. Maybe you put butterflies alternating or something. So have fun with it. Play. You could do a million different versions of this too.
You know what would be really fun is food-themed stamps.
That would be really fun.
Like pizzas.
Yep. I know what I'm getting you for your birthday.
Yes. Cheeseburger.
Cheeseburgers and donuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Do our fourth honeybee, and then you can see it's already kind of filling out. That's pretty good to start.
That looks great.
So I like how the orange is a little bit of like a melon orange. It's not even, it's kind of a coral color. I don't know if I would really even call it orange completely.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
It's in the orange, compared to the pink and the yellow, I think is why I said that.
Yeah, it's got some more orange to it.
Either way, I really like how they look together. I'm just trying to clean my stamp up a little. Also, sometimes these inks will stain your stamps a little bit. Just do your best. They don't have to be clear forever, as long as the color's not coming off on other projects. So don't expect them to be perfectly clear forever. You're not doing anything wrong if they're not. So.
In fact, you're doing things right.
Exactly.
Because you're enjoying your stamps.
Okay, let me bring back my colors over here so I can think about what I want to do next. I really love the honeybee. We're going to go back to that a little bit later, but I want to fill in these sides a little bit more. So there's different things that you could do. Since this is not square, you could extend some details that go in between the different stamps, or I think it's fun to even treat the sides differently. So I'm going to use this one here that's kind of a border stamp. I'm really excited to use this one.
I'm excited to watch you use this one.
Okay, so you might think, how's that going to fit? That's not going to fit.
But Heidi, how's that going to fit there?
Well, it's not.
Oh.
So I'm going to do it as a diagonal.
What?
Right along the corner. So this is what kind of...
Oh, that's going to look so lovely.
Well, thanks, Keenan. So I put it where I kind of want it. I want to make sure it's centered because there's a little flower detail in the middle. And then I'm going to go like I did before and press my block on here. And so I'm just going to pick some of these grid lines to line it up with the corner of my postcard. And that's what's going to help it stay really lined up the way you want it to. Okay? And just press it on, kind of rock it back and forth. Make sure you don't have any bubbles. But that's on nice and tight. Okay. Are we ready? What color should we do for our border, Keenan?
Well, we already have the melon orange and the bumblebee yellow and the dark navy. Should we add more colors? Would that be too distracting? That's where I'm at.
There is no wrong way to do this. You can have fun. All these colors, especially if you have a set like this, all the colors are designed to go together. And so you can absolutely put them together.
Then I think we should do that navy.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That's what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to like lead you there.
Thank you.
Yay, we're going to do the navy. And the reason that that is a great choice is because the same reason we put it in the center, it kind of grounds all the other colors. So then we're going to bring that back to the outside to make it feel like a whole. So you knew that would be
together.
You knew that would be good, even though you didn't really realize why.
I knew, but I didn't know. It felt right.
It felt right. Sometimes that's all that matters.
It's like a cookies and cream Twix on a Tuesday afternoon.
Never tried that kind of Twix.
Well, you'll have one when we're done filming.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in here and do the same thing, add my stamp. I don't have to go all the way to the edges of the stamp because I know that it doesn't on the page. So just a little bit of a less of a mess if that is something that's important to you. So I already lined it up with the grid on the block, so now I'm gonna line it up with the corner of the paper, and it should be pretty well centered where I want it to be. And if it's off a tiny bit, no one's gonna get a ruler out and measure, so it's all right. Yes!
Whoa!
Okay, let's do it a few more times before we get to, I already got really excited, but we're gonna do it a few more times.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
You do?
Yeah, that's sweet.
So I'm just rotating the paper too so that I can keep referencing that corner that I already built into this acrylic block. That's why I love these. It is optional. You can use anything clear, any flat surface that it'll stick to really. But these blocks are really designed to do this because they're sturdy, they're flat, and then with the grid added on, just look how awesome that turns out.
Just lovely.
I can't take all the credit. The credit also goes to these beautifully designed materials that we're using.
I mean, that's fair.
I hope Jessie likes this. She will. Okay.
She will.
Something about Jessie. She doesn't always love to be in the spotlight.
Huh.
She loves to teach, and she loves art journaling, and that's why she shows up in front of the camera all the time. But she might not love that we're encouraging people to make postcards for her.
Nope.
However, I don't care. So
sometimes the people that focus on people need to be focused on.
yes, I love that.
Thanks.
That's totally true. I agree with you completely. So, okay, we're gonna do the last one, see how it goes. Again, just lining it up with that corner. Fun. Okay.
That looks so cool.
So we still only have these big elements. Thank you, Keenan. We still have the big elements only, but now we've kind of bordered it out so that we know kind of overall what we want the design to be. And then you can go in and really have fun and fill with all these smaller things.
Question.
What's up?
I have an idea.
Let's hear it.
What if when you make a card like this and you have borders like that on the each corner, what if you put the person's first initial or their initials in each corner to fill that space? So just like do a JP.
Okay.
Or a J.
Like a J and a...
J and a J and a J.
Okay,
that
so
way
like a
it's
monogram?
mirrored still, yeah.
That's a fun idea, using like a way to personalize it.
Yeah.
I love that. You can definitely do that. You can also put it in the middle. You can also go in, and what I want to do is now we have this color we haven't used yet.
Perfect.
And you're getting all excited, predicting
like
what we're
that
going to do
color.
next. I love that, Keenan. So we have these smaller flowers, and I love this one here that's, I know it's hard to see with the
It
glare.
shows up really well on the side cam.
Okay, because this has, if you notice, it has almost a corner built into it. That's something that designers think about sometimes, is what the use is. And so this one, I think, would look really fun in these corners to fill out that little diagonal space we created.
I concur.
Okay, Keenan approves, we're gonna do it.
Keenan approved.
That's the one thing I was worried about, was like, is Keenan gonna be okay with this? But
Who?
you are. You are, though, so. Good.
Yeah, so we're good.
Okay, and this, you could even go in and add different colors here. For the flower, you'd have to get really tiny in the details. I'm just gonna do the whole thing. Leaves can be pink.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you use a brush to take the ink off of that to then apply in an easier manner to said stamp? Or a finer point, I should say? Or would that be...
It's pretty difficult, truthfully.
Okay.
Inks are generally oil-based too, so you want to make sure you're not using like a regular paintbrush because it will kind of destroy your brush over time if you continue to do that. Also, the ink it's just hard to get enough on a brush to then be able to, that's also why I dab it instead of even if I were to go like this and rub it across, you're going to get a completely different look, which is also cool if you like that, but that's why you dab it, because when you swipe it the way a brush would, you don't get as much ink on there.
Got it. That makes sense.
So, yeah, but that's also why we have these cool tools, and we haven't even gotten there yet because I've been so excited about this.
I know that first flower you just put down looks great.
And I'm not doing any math. I'm just trying to like visually center it. I'm looking at this white space here and this white space here and this white space here on the other, against the diagonal, to just kind of fill the space.
Eyeball it.
Eyeball it. Yeah. Okay, we'll do a couple more, and then we can even take this same pink flower and put it in some different places if we want. Or should we use a different stamp, Keenan? What do you think?
I really like this one.
It is really pretty.
It actually makes me think of the snitch in Harry Potter.
I like that. We could have made it gold, but we didn't.
Ooh.
Okay, so now it's like beautifully bordered out, and we can just fill in. So you can use more stamps. Keenan likes the idea of using more stamps, which I'm totally for. This is also where you could start to use some of your other materials. So if you had a black pen, or if you have some paints or things like that, you can go in and start to add different elements, just however you like. Fill it in. The main thing is you just want it to, at least think diagonally. If you're trying to do a mirrored image, you at least want to kind of think diagonally. Oh, I just smeared it. That's okay.
It happens.
You want to think kind of diagonally. That way you get that mirrored mirrored look. So I'm going to use that same one that we just used that you like, Keenan, but I'm going to do a different color.
Okay.
I really, really love this mint color. It's just a personal preference.
I do too.
Anyone who knows me, that will not come as a surprise. It's like, even my art desk at home is this color.
Oh.
I like it. It's a good one.
It's not a problem.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem, Keenan. But I also like it's also really fun to take the same stamps. It's just another way to show that you can be using it in different ways. And it just put a different color on it and it gives it a completely different feel. So this is where I'm getting a little creative. Instead of going all toward the middle like I have been doing, I'm now looking side to side with that line. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I put it straight up and down here. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Try not to smear it. And then we're going to flip it around and do the same thing in that other space. And this is just a great way to, think beyond just the grid. And since it's a rectangle, it's not a square, you want to make it still feel like it's a full motif. So what do you think? Should we do it again on this side?
Totally.
I am getting a little messy. You got to be careful with those inks, and it's always good to have baby wipes or wet paper towel just to keep your hands clean too. And I'm being a little sloppy, but that's all right. Again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it to try and fill some of that negative space, but still have it look somewhat symmetrical related to the rest of the design. Okay, here we go, last one. What do you think, Keenan?
I love this.
Okay, has the Keenan stamp of approval. Get
Stamp.
it? You see what I did there?
Classic.
Okay, I think that's all I'm going to do with the stamps. What am I thinking of? Am I missing anything that's going to be important for this? Keenan, help me out.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Did you want to show the old thing I can't remember the name of, the shape of the bell? Right there with the pad, the soft, that thingy.
Yes. So I have a blender tool. This is also,
tool.
No, that was
the thing that's shaped like a
kind of
bell.
shaped like a bell. You weren't wrong.
All right.
This is a great tool, and Jessie does show it in some of her other letters and post tutorials that you can, and we can do that. We just have to let this completely dry first. The same reason that my hands got messy and messed it up. So let's give it a quick dry, and then we can talk about what we can do after. I have not tested this. It's not going to break anything.
Fine. We'll find out.
Woo. Oh, it's so quiet.
Yeah,
it's so
nice.
lovely. So this is just to make sure you don't get any smudging, because it's so sad when you have this beautiful thing and then you smudge it and
and then it's smudged.
you gotta start. Yeah. Well, some people might start over. I don't know if I would or not.
I think I would leave it.
All right.
Especially if it was my first try. Like, oh.
And I also, in a normal situation, would probably have, like, I have 4 more postcards right here. I probably would be doing, like, slightly different versions of 3 or 4 at a time. That's my style. You already have your stamps out, might as well. I think that's it. I think that's all we need.
That's it.
Okay, let me take a quick wipe of my hands where there's not ink. My trusty baby wipe. Okay, so we have the stamps down. We feel good about our design. There's still some things though that we could add to personalize it or make it feel more like a complete design. So if we go back to the examples that Jessie had already created, you see how, like this one for example, she went back and she colored in the flowers. Ooh. That's a really fun technique too if you want to just use the black. I decided to skip that this time, but what she used was this Dilutions acrylic paint. And so the important part of this too is that inks are oil-based and acrylic is not. And so if you try to put this down first and really in a really thick way where you're then trying to layer the ink on top, it will not dry properly.
Oh, got it.
So that's why we did all of this first. And then you can use some of this to add detail, but I'm gonna, if I were to do this, I would water it down and do a really, really thin layer once I know that this is completely dry. So that's one thing that you could do to kind of finish it off.
Cool.
And that's what Jessie has done here. She put the ink down first and then added the acrylic paint on top.
Light wash.
Yeah, a very watered down wash. Ink first and then the acrylic if you want to go that route. Something else that she did, which I think this is so pretty, she did the same thing with the wash and then she used the white acrylic paint to add little white dots on top. So you could also do that if you have a white jelly roll pen or a paint pen or that type of a thing. Just to kind of fill out some of the negative space. I love using little polka dots to fill in negative space.
Yeah, little polka dots, little pink polka dots would look really good in this one.
Okay, what I am going to do next, now that it is dry, is I've got a black pen. This is just my Sharpie pen, but we have a great, the black Pitt pen that Jessie loves.
You mean the Brad Pitt pen?
Oh, is that? Got trusty Brad, I guess. And then, but really you just want a good trusty black pen. And so Keenan, when you're talking about the bees.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember Katie's version. Maybe we can pop that up on the screen again.
Okay.
Just to look at it. Oh. So this obviously is just a one color stamp, but she just went in and added some detail with a black pen that made it look super, super cute. So I'm gonna do some version of that where I'm just gonna outline and add a little detail.
Sweet.
And I think it's dry by now. It's pretty dry. Make sure you give it enough time. So you can, no rules, but what I'm gonna do is think about, okay, on a bee, what are the parts that I might see that are black and not yellow?
The belly part and the legs.
Okay.
And the bumblebee generally only has 2 to 3 stripes.
Okay, this is very helpful. Okay, so we're not gonna make sure it's perfectly anatomically correct, but we'll reference some for accuracy. So 2 or 3 stripes, let's do 2 stripes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go, if you look at this stamp design too, there's yellow, which is the line, and then there's a part that's kind of white. So I'm actually gonna add a little bit of the stripe there, and I'm being very just loose with it, and then I'm gonna curve along with the curve of the body.
Ah, got it.
You can see I'm not being precious with it.
Yeah.
Because that's not the style of the stamps.
Nice.
The stamps have a very loose feel to them already, some of them, like this flower, so it's totally okay to be very loose with it. Okay, and then let's go over the antennas, maybe?
Yep, the antennas.
And the legs. And there's little notches and bends in the legs, which is always really fun. So, and I'm not even covering the whole thing, I'm just adding some of the black to reference those things. So you can see it's, oops, not the same on either side even, and that's okay. Just having fun with it.
That's amazing.
I'm gonna do a little outline of the body too. I may regret that later. I don't care though. It's fun.
Nah.
And I can just stamp it again if I don't like it. So little details. You can add some little dots for. I don't hate that. Let's do it again.
That's great. I think.
I am a lefty too, Keenan, so that might be messing up some of your handy camera work. But
No, I think this looks great.
okay. And I am trying to go just kind of fast and squiggly. It kind of makes it look like my hands are shaking, but I'm just, that might help if you want to try that. But just being really kind of loose and.
Yeah, depending on what you're trying to make it look like, shaky hand is perfect.
And then I'm adding some little dots. Fun, fun, fun. I'm gonna go right here just to kind of fill in, outline the body. I think that's really fun. And you can do this or not, or you can personalize it however you want. I think it's always fun though to think about all the different ways that you can use one stamp set. And this is a good one because you've got flowers, you've got a butterfly, you've got bees, you've got words, and this border one and anyway, it's great. Jessie chose a great stamp set for us to use for this project.
You could even outline the wings if you want. You could just do the entire exterior of the bee without doing the black lines. That would be neat too.
You absolutely could, yeah. So I would be excited to see what people do. Okay, almost done with this. Don't be precious with it. That's something that's hard for me too. Like I really like things to look kind of perfect. I am a perfectionist by nature, and so I have to I'm saying it out loud to give myself permission to not be precious about it.
We all need to do that. We all need to do that.
Exactly. Okay. I feel pretty great about that. Katie, thanks for that idea. Amazing. I think that's so much fun. So now we have a little bit of black on here where it's just on the bees and nowhere else. So something you could do is go and add some details to other things. So for example, these flowers right here that are just mint, I think it would be really fun to go and outline some of the leaves.
Yep.
You could even outline the outside of the flower if you want. That's totally up to you what you want to do. Or maybe I'll do the center instead of the outline. So you can decide what you want to do, but this is a great way to just think differently. If you have different colored ink stamp pads, then you have a lot of different options with just one set. And I like doing little ink details like this too, because then like they all look slightly different from each other.
Ah, yes.
And it just makes it feel a little bit more hand drawn. And now that I've done that, I think I'm gonna go and add a little really sketchy outline because I like it. I'm holding my pen a little bit weird, like I'm spacing it out. This is just a trick that I do for my own lefty lettering, and I find myself doing it a lot when I make art. But I kind of am spreading the fingers across the pen, and that's why I'm getting this very, very loose, kind of sketchy feel. Ah. It's forcing me to let go of the control a little bit. So if you're wondering, like, but that's hard to do, it can be. And so you just gotta figure out what works for you. Okay, I think that's fun, and it added to some of the black detail from the bee so that it doesn't look like it's just in one spot. You kind of think about the colors, the way that we grounded the navy with the wreath and then again on the borders. You can do that too if you bring in another dark color or something that really contrasts with what you're doing.
Sweet.
So I'm gonna give it a little dry again because I don't want the ink to smear. And then we're gonna do some blending as the final little
blending
thing,
yes,
to give it a little bit of a background. The bell-shaped tool.
Yes.
You just don't want it to smudge if you can avoid it. But I've smudged lots of things and figured out a way to make it work. Okay, what do we got? Stamps are great too, like if you don't like to draw, but you do have a lot of Tombow pens or like markers but you just are not confident to just freehand, you can use stamps with a colored ink pad. And then go in and add your own Tombow details and everything like that. There's just so many different things you can do with them.
I was gonna say stamps are great if you can't draw.
Yes.
Because I want to draw.
Is that what I said? I think I said the opposite, but I meant.
You said yes, if you don't want to draw. I want to draw.
Okay.
I just can't.
That's fair.
Clean anyway.
I mean, I don't think we use that word at Let's Make Art.
I am currently
the word can't.
Unable to draw lines that are pleasing to the eye.
You feel less than confident?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well,
it is a skill that I'm slowly developing.
You know, a lot of times that just means that you haven't found the tools that are right for you yet, because I think we have this idea that like a professional artist is freehanding everything. I don't think that's true. I think that people have to learn what works for them and then create their own style based off of those tools and resources that they have available.
I agree with that.
So, okay. I feel good about the dryness level of this. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to erase some of my pencil. Be kind of light with it, especially if you're not sure if it's completely dry. But we want to put something in the center here, and then we're going to also add a little bit of a wash around the edges. This is a great place, like we said, You can put a fun sentiment, you could hand letter something. Nicole and Jessie did a great tutorial even on juicing up your envelopes, but you can do the same thing on a postcard where you add their name or a fun little phrase. So you have all of the choices there. Okay, get rid of that. And the reason I'm erasing now is because I'm about to add a background. And so there's no rule really. I just like to have that peace of mind that that step is taken care of before I go in and add an overall wash. So I mentioned I love the mint color. Did I mention that?
Yes, you did.
I really love this mint color.
Are you gonna do that as the background?
What do you mean? Okay, so obviously I wouldn't be able to do that around all of it because I have some of the mint here already, and that would wipe it out. So we're not gonna do on everything. We're gonna lean on Jessie's example here and just do it on part.
Oh, cool.
And then let it kind of blend out. She did this with the acrylic paint, which you can do, and you can, she does that in a couple of the other videos from the letters and post theme. But we're gonna use the ink and blender tool. So this comes with a couple different pads so that you can, if in an ideal situation, you might wanna, if you're using them in one setting, maybe you have separate pads for separate colors. They just go on like Velcro. But I'm gonna use this one for the mint color. You wanna press it on there pretty well. I'm not gonna do it too hard because it blends pretty well. It's just gonna be very light wash, but just the same old dab, 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 dab. And then what's very important about this is that if I was to go and start in the middle, I'm gonna have like a dot where you can really tell where you started. Oh. So you wanna start at the edge of your surface or your paper, which is why I have this mat down just to keep it safe. So I'm gonna just go in the corner, and there's no rhyme or reason, just starting in the corner, and I'm gonna kind of bring it in a little bit without covering the motif we already created.
Cool.
So I'm pressing very lightly and kind of smudgy, but you can also dab a little bit depending on what kind of effect you want to create. Can you see how it's just starting to?
Yeah, just barely their color.
I probably could have waited a little longer to let it dry, let's be honest.
Well.
But we're living on the edge.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So it may not seem like much, but when you do all four corners, suddenly you have this.
That'll like tie it in really well.
Yeah.
Emphasize whatever you decide to put in the middle.
And again, I'm going off the edge, starting there first, and then bringing it in so that you don't have like a clear starting point. Okay, I'm gonna go around to this part.
A little blue vignette.
Yeah, a little minty. And then these pads too, they can be just washed in the sink with soap and water. So as long as you get the color out of it, you can use it again with any color. It's not like you have to have one that is designated to one color forever. Okay. What do you think, Keenan?
I think it looks great.
So I could be done with that right now. I think I'm gonna add a little bit to the center too.
I was gonna suggest that. I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah? Okay. Keenan has you have some good design instincts.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to really smudge because you don't wanna just go plop and then have a big circle. So I'm kind of smudging right when I put it down. And then I'm gonna bring it outside of the wreath too so that it spills into the background the way that it does on the corners.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Hey.
I really like this. The blending tool is fun. It is really fun. I see more of that in my future. Okay, so I think that's about the whole tutorial. You can go in and add, so I have my black ink pen here. I'm gonna go in and add a little, some little details. I like to add little asymmetrical dots or whatever you want really, but just to add movement, just to fill in some of that negative space. You don't have to do that if you like the simple, or you can use the stamps to go in and add smaller details. I try to do, when I do random like this, I try to do sets of 3 or maybe like 1 single. 2 or 4, sometimes from a design perspective, doesn't always have the effect you want it to have. And so there, say I did 3, but then I spread them out differently. So none of it is a hard and fast rule. It's really just little cheats and references so that you feel confident in being able to play. One here and there, feeling adventurous. So for these ones on the outside, instead of outlining, I'm going to go in and add almost like a leaf vein. See that? So almost for like the, that's fun. Does that show up okay?
Yeah.
One more. Oh, I went and outlined it after I said I wasn't going to. That's okay. All right, so then you can just put your motif in the middle. You can choose from the stamp set, the lovely or so sweet or you and me or great choices. Or you can just write something in the middle. So I'm going to write something in the middle.
Aww.
And we're done.
Nice.
Okay, so again, this is the letters and post theme for art journaling. I promise Jessie will be back for the next tutorial, but thanks for letting me hang out with you and take over her Let's Make Art Matter. And we invite you to create a postcard for someone who could enjoy a little bit of love in the mail to brighten their day. So thanks, we'll see you next time.